Good morning, dear poets. At least it's morning here. You can see a sliver of sunshine down the side of my face, of my beard. That's the beautiful sunshine here upstate. I hope you're getting some wherever you are, including in Oregon, although actually right now in Oregon it's 5 in the morning. Or whatever part of the globe you are. The beauty of this appalling plague is that we could be anywhere, and we don't know where we are, only that we are, and that we are communicating, which is the most important thing. So it's your spirit that I crave, not your topography of your location. So I hope this finds you well after more sunny weather that we've certainly had up here, and contemplating the poetry of Paul Francois. Paul, who I know through his, in the first instance, through his brother, Joël, also a fabulous poet who has moved on from poetry to writing fiction, and is a great loss to the world of poetry, in which he figured as a stand-up poet, making quite a lot of money on campuses by reading his poems, and deservedly so. And he is still Joël Francois to be found on YouTube, unless he's taken his poetry readings down, which I hope he hasn't. So he often mentioned Paul as being the true writer, the great writer in the family. And I always thought, gosh, he must be good. Anyway, Paul turned up mysteriously in my classroom, to my great delight, as a very quiet and positively silent member of the class. But I was thrilled that he was there, and I coaxed him into sending me some of his poems, and I was blown away by them. So these poems that I've sent you are part of a collection which will be published soon. And I commend them to you. It's very hard for me to know what more to tell you about Paul's life. He's from a Haitian family, but a blues singer, which is really what Paul is, a blues singer in words and poems, has no home except the blues. And it would be quite wrong for me to suggest that any kind of background other than the blues is appropriate here. And if you've never listened to the blues as sung from the great Delta bluesmen onwards, this might make it a little harder for you to come to terms with Paul's poetry. Whereas if you're familiar with the blues, you will know where you are. It will come as no great surprise what you're reading. There are different kinds of blues in this collection. There are sweet blues and sour blues, harsh and bitter blues, humorous blues. And I'd like to read you a couple, which is a dreadful prospect for you, fun for me, even more dreadful for Paul, but luckily he's at this moment not with us. I mean, he's around, but he's not part of this transmission. I can't imagine what he'd think hearing my unnecessarily cultured British voice reciting these superb stanzas. But I'll start with the easiest, the gentlest poem. If you couldn't find one, go right to the back. I don't mean to the back of the class. Nobody should be at the back of the class, except possibly me. Go right to the end of the collection and read You Sat With Me, which goes, Love was this restaurant I asked you to meet me at. I could have sworn you came. Sat with me, stirred in the quiet of your blouse, broke the only silence between us like bread over an open body of silverware and china, ordered my heart a medium rare. You did. even overlook the menu, trying to spare me the effort of offering you the special parts of me, when you were content with the usual, the usual, the usual. You spilled over, chilled, didn't bother to pour any for me. Bittersweet. I meant to tell you dessert was worth having, but you smiled, said you were full. That's that sweet, humorous, sly, perhaps bitter, but intensely funny poem. The poem that reaches out to me, as it maybe does to you, after that first. This is not necessarily the order. I should have said that to begin with. The order in which the poems will be published, that will be up to Paul. And maybe this is not even the faintest impression of the order. And that last sweet, funny poem maybe won't be last, or maybe it will. But what we've got here is a painful poem followed by a long, elaborate, difficult poem where you must have been wondering whether the poem had stopped and a new poem was started. No, it's one long poem until you get to Butterfly Knife, which is a mode of feeling that comes up again and again in these poems. And if you could sing it, you'd be singing the blues. Butterfly Knife. Now, baby, who put that switchblade in your mouth? That Swiss Army between your gums got 2 rows of soldiers retreating, rotting in the trench of your throat. Goodbye has always felt like death by firing squad. Your words make me nervous. Didn't anyone tell you not to run around with a pair of incisors, got a mouth like a guillotine and a smile like a headrest, inviting me in? I already made a home of your mouth like a corpse has done a coffin. The way you press your lips to my throat is about as comfortable as I'll ever be with a shave. Kiss me like the dancing of blades. Watch your eyes flicker like a butterfly knife. It's savage stuff. But I wanted to dwell on a poem that jumps off the headlines and is as true of them this week as in the whole history of American slavery and the slavery imposed by other countries. Let's not pretend that Americans are the only slavers. My own great-great-grandfather makes it clear on his wedding certificate that he is what in the Liverpool docks, the city of Liverpool, which was a great British dropping off point, a great port in the northwest of Britain where slave ships took on water as part of their journey up from Africa and across the Atlantic. On his wedding certificate it says of him, my great-great-grandfather, he describes himself as African merchant. And you may be sure that this did not mean he traded in beads. So there are no innocent human beings, not in my family anyway. So this poem is a declaration of nationality in America as a black man. It's called Catching Fire. And he says, I want my son's first words to be, please don't shoot. I am not a nightmare you can cure with bullets and nooses. This black skin isn't a starless expanse begging to be poked and punched with gunfire, trying to map out constellations. This body ain't gotta be heavenly before it's time. This black skin isn't starless. It's where the stars come to sleep come daylight. This black skin, like tar, yes, set to combust. We've been burning bright since before crosses ever crossed our paths. We've been catching fire, been our own gods, way before your gods made us fear our night, made us patrol this kerosene-slick skin with torches tall enough to bury our shadows in masses. We've been our own worship, been Anubis, Horus, Ra, Isis, Osiris, Set, Shu, Nekhbet, been flesh before corpse, been breath before the choice against it, been trigger, rifle, shotgun, pistol, army, been bullet, been striking beneath, been striking, been this black skin since before black was the new black, been this 6-foot nightmare, been this mouth of unorthodox silence, been this grave, that 6-foot nightmare been doctor, life giver, ditch digger, judge, jury, prophet, field and house nigger, been me, been a whistle in a haystack, been the air between the neck and the noose. My flesh, like guilty before I could spell it, before I could say it, been paddy wagon merry-go-round, been this hoodie, been this bloody, been this still, this silent. Never have I ever been this still, like autopsy photo, been this 6-foot nightmare my mama been having. Never has it been this grave. Have you seen its grave? Been this body, been this bloody, been this still before I could say it. I keep having this dream where my son is waiting at the end of an aisle and I can't tell if it's his wedding or his funeral. And I wake up without a breath or protest, like a dead man complying with an arrest. But I been here. So, this wonderful testimony as the blues is to the suffering of a people and the sufferings of all individuals who can share in suffering of any kind at the hands of a partner, a woman, a man, a police state, are alive in these poems. And I look forward to hearing from you. I will send out a little quiz now shortly, just an opportunity for you to say a few things, identify a few lines that speak strongly to you. And as I say, I commend these poems to you, and I'm so happy to think they will be published before long. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely week, my dear poets. We'll talk soon.